Welcome back. Today we're going to be working on power to power with negative exponents. Our content objective is students will be able to simplify expressions by multiplication with negative exponents. Language objective is students will be able to discuss what multiplying with negative exponents mean. And why am I learning this? Well, it's important for real-world problems like predicting population growth. So first, let's talk about what is power to power. Well, power to power is basically when you have one base raised to a power that's raised to yet another power. So how would we do this? Well, I like to do it so that I ask myself, what is being squared? It's 5 cubed, so I'm right 5 cubed 2 times. And then you extend out, what does 5 cubed mean? 5 times 5 times 5. Again, once more, and then you just go ahead and count how many you have all together. So in this case, it'd be 5 to the 6th power. So you always want to start with writing it out as an extended product, and that's going to reveal your answer in exponential form. Okay, so what if you have power to power with different bases? Same idea. Ask yourself what in this case is being squared. I would say this entire term is being squared, so I'd write this term 2 times. Then using the commutative property, I'm going to rearrange things so that the 2's are together and the 3's are together. And I'm just going to collect to see how much I have all together. I have 6 2's and 8 3's, so I'd write that as 2 to the 6th times 3 to the 8th. Okay, so write each expression in exponential form. So what should we do here? Well, first, we always want to check, can I simplify what's inside the parentheses? 3 squared, that's as much as I can do, so I'm going to leave it at that. Here, what's being raised to the negative 4th power? A 3 squared. So what this means is, since I am raising it to a negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. So I'm going to go ahead and write it as 1 over 3 squared. I'm going to go ahead and divide it 4 times. So now that's going to leave me with 1 over, I'm going to go ahead and write 3 squared 4 times. So once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. So now I'm left with a 1 in the numerator, and how many, whoops, I meant a 2 here, not 4. How many 3's do I have? I have 2, 4, 6, 8 all together, so I would write that as 3 to the 8th. Okay, so let's try another one. Number 2, here, I'm going to look inside the parentheses. Can I simplify this? Yes, we normally like to turn negative exponents to positive exponents. That's going to be the simplified version. So we're going to go ahead and write, what does 2 to the negative 5th mean? Since it's a negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. So 2 to negative 5th is going to become 1 divided by 2 to the 5th. Okay, so I went and simplified 2 to negative 5th to be 1 over 2 to the 5th. Now I'm going to take this entire expression and cube it. So what does this mean? It means 1 over 2 to the 5th repeated 3 times. Since it is a positive exponent, I am doing repeated multiplication. So once, twice, and 3 times. So here, what am I left in the numerator? Just 1, because 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Now if I have 5 here, another 5 here, another 5 here, together I have 15. So my answer would be 1 over 2 to the 15th. So notice we're taking it one step at a time. Okay, so now let's try some more examples. Number 3. Well, again, we're going to take a look inside the parentheses. Can I simplify negative 7? Nope. Can I simplify negative 7 to the 4th? Since it's already a positive exponent, we're good. Now let's go ahead and work on the outside. Here, what is being raised to the negative 3rd power? This entire term. So since it's a negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. So I'm going to start with 1 first. And I'm going to go ahead and divide by this term, which is a negative 7 to the 4th power. But since we're going to divide by 3 times, I'm going to go ahead and add an additional parentheses and cube that. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up a bit. It looks like this. So now what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to cube this entire term. So it's going to be 1 over negative 7 to the fourth times negative 7 to the fourth times negative 7 to the fourth. So I basically repeated it 3 times. So now, how many negative 7s do I have? I have 4 here, which would give me 8, 4 more, which would give me 12. So that's going to be 1 over negative 7 to the 12th power. Okay, let's continue on. Number 4. Again, we're looking on the inside. Could I simplify the opposite of 5 to negative 6? Absolutely, because we have a negative exponent. We're going to do repeated division. So this is going to be 1 over the opposite of 5 to the 6th power. Now it's still being squared, so we're going to keep that intact and take this whole thing and square it like so. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a bit. So now what are we going to do? Well, we're going to take this essentially is your base now. What's being squared? This entire term here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this term and repeat it 2 times, like so. And now what is my numerator? Well, 1 times 1 is just 1. Now here, notice it's not a base of negative 5, it's just the opposite of 5 to the 6. So I can say a negative times a negative is a positive. So now my answer is positive. It's going to be a positive 5 to the, well, there's 6 here and 6 more. That's going to give me 12. So my answer would be 1 over 5 to the 12th power. Okay. Okay, so let's try some more examples. For number 5, here we're going to check to see can we simplify the inside. The answer is yes. Since 3 is raised to the negative 2nd power, we want to turn it into a positive exponent. So here, since we have a negative exponent, we're going to do repeated division. So we're going to start with the number 1, and we're going to divide by 3 a total of 2 times. So that's 3 squared. Now, if you'll notice here, it's still being raised to the negative 4th power, so we want to keep it like that. Here, since it is a negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. So watch very closely. I'm going to start with 1 like I normally do, and I'm going to go ahead and divide. What am I going to divide by? I'm going to divide by a 1 over 3 halves. Sorry, I read that wrong. A 1 over 3 squared. Now, how many times are we going to divide this? Well, we're going to divide it 4 times. Okay. So before we actually go ahead and extend this out, what does this mean? This means 1 divided by, so 1 divided by 1 over 3 squared, and that's going to be divided 4 times. Now this will change to 1 times the reciprocal, which is going to be 3 squared over 1. We're still raising it to the 4th power. Here, 3 squared over 1 is just 3 squared. So I'm just going to go ahead and write this as, sorry, and anything times 1 is itself. So essentially, we have a 3 halves repeated 4 times. So I'm going to write that out. I'm going to write it as 3 squared, written once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. So how many 3's do we have all together? Well, we have 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the answer is 3 to the 8th power. Okay. So now, let's try another one. Here, number 6. Again, we're going to check to see, can I simplify what's inside? The answer is yes. Since it is raised to the negative 2nd power, I'm going to go ahead and write that as 1 over a negative 6 divided 2 times. But again, it's still being raised to the negative 3rd power, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it like so. Now, okay, I'm going to clean that up real quick. Now, since it is being raised to a negative exponent, we are going to do repeated division. So I'm going to start with 1 and divide by this base here, which is 1 over a negative 6 squared. How many times will we divide it? Well, we'll be dividing it 3 times. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this as 1 divided by this term right here. And then, of course, we're going to rewrite this into multiplication. So now it's going to become 1 times the reciprocal of this. So it's 1 times a negative 6 squared over 1 cubed. So this basically means, first of all, this over 1 is just negative 6 squared. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 times a negative 6 squared repeated 3 times. So once, twice, and 3 times. So altogether, how many 6's do I have? I have 2, 4, 6. So I'm going to go ahead and write my answer as 6 to the 6th. Okay, so trying just a couple more, and then I'm actually going to have you pause the video and try some on your own. Number 7 here. Again, we're going to check, whoops, went ahead of myself. We're going to check to see, can we simplify what's inside our parentheses? 8 to the negative 6. The answer is yes, since it is a negative exponent. We want to turn it into a positive one. Here, it's being raised to the negative 6th power, so we're going to do repeated division. We're going to go ahead and start with 1, and we're going to divide by an 8 6 times. But it's still going to be raised to the 0 power. Now here, what is 1 over 8 to the 6 raised to the 0 power? Well, it's just 1. But to be quite honest, if we backtracked and we looked at the original problem, 8 to the negative 6 raised to the 0 power, you could have gotten right away as 1, because anything raised to the 0 power is 1. Okay? Number 8 here. Can we simplify what's inside the parentheses? Nope, so we're going to leave it as is. Here, since it's being raised to the negative 3rd power, I'm going to go ahead and do repeated division. So I'm going to start with a 1, and I'm going to divide by 7 cubed times 11 3 times, like so. We'll clean that up a bit. So now what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to cube this expression right here. So I'm basically going to write this expression 3 times. So we have 1 over this expression written once, twice, and 3 times. Now, what I like to do is use a commutative property and rearrange it so all the 7's are together and all the 11's are together. So now I'm going to have 1 over 7 to the 9th, because there's 3, 6, 9, times 11 to the 3rd, because there's 1, 2, 3, 11. Okay, so now what I would like you to do is go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to go ahead and try numbers 9 and 10 by yourself. Okay, so let's see how well we did. For number 9, hopefully you saw that you need to rewrite this as a positive exponent. So that would be 1 over 2 cubed, but you're still, of course, writing it to the negative 2nd power. Since it's a negative exponent, you're going to go ahead and do repeated division. So you're going to write 1 over 2 cubed squared. So I basically started with a 1 and divided by my base here. So I'm going to rewrite this as 1 divided by 1 over 2 cubed squared. Then this is going to change to 1 times the reciprocal of this original fraction here. So 2 cubed over 1 is just 2 cubed. So if I square that, I would have 1 times 2 cubed times 2 cubed, which leaves me with 2 to the 6th. So hopefully you got that as an answer. And if not, just go ahead and backtrack this problem and see where things went wrong and see if you can figure out how to fix it in the future. Okay, how about number 10? Here, could I simplify the inside of the parentheses? The answer is no, so we're going to leave it as is. Here, since we have a negative exponent, I'm going to go ahead and do repeated division. So again, you're going to start with a 1. You're just going to go ahead and divide by the base here, which is 6 to the 4th times 10. How many times? Oh, you're going to divide it. You're going to divide it 2 times. So now all you need to do is repeat this here 2 times in the denominator. So you have 1 over 6 to the 4th times 10 times 6 to the 4th times 10. So you just repeated this twice. Now using the commutative property, you can go ahead and rearrange all the 6's together and the 10's, leaving you with 1 over 6 to the 8th, because there's 4 here, 4 here. Altogether there's 8, times 10 to the 2nd, because there's 10. There's 1 here and 1 here, giving you 2. So now I'm going to go ahead and have you try number 11 and 12 by yourself. Okay, so let's see how well we did. Here, do you need to simplify 5 squared? What's inside the parentheses? The answer is no, because we already have positive exponents, so we're going to leave it like so. Now, since it's being raised to the negative 5th power, whoops, let's go back real quick. Since it's being raised to the negative 5th fifth power, we're going to go ahead and do repeated division. So starting with a 1, we're going to go ahead and divide by this base of 5 squared. How many times are we going to divide it? We're going to divide it 5 times. So now we're going to go ahead and repeat this base. Okay, what's being raised to the fifth power? A 5 squared. So I'm going to go ahead and write 1 over 5 squared written 5 times. Now that's going to leave me with 1 over how many 5s? Well, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 all together. So I'm going to write that as 1 over 5 to the 10th. Okay, so let's take a look at number 12. What we're going to do here is, again, ask ourselves, can we go ahead and simplify what's inside the parentheses? The answer is yes. Since it's being raised to a negative exponent, we're going to go ahead and do repeated division. We're going to do 1 divided by the opposite of 7 cubed. But notice here, it's still being raised to the 4th power, so you want to keep it like that. Okay? So now what does this mean? Well, it means this base of 1 over the opposite of 7 cubed is going to be raised to the 4th power. So we're going to go ahead and write this base 4 times, because what is being raised to the 4th power? This entire term. So I'm going to go ahead and write it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. What am I left with in the numerator? I'm just left with a 1. What about the denominator? Well, first, let's take care of the signs, because it's not a negative 7. It's the opposite of 7. So we can go ahead and simplify this. A negative times a negative is a positive. Another negative times a negative is a positive. My answer is now positive. I'm going to go ahead and write it as 7. How many 7s do I have? I have 3, 6, 9, 12 altogether. So I'm going to go ahead and say my answer is 1 over 7 to the 12th power. Okay, so going ahead, let's go ahead and try numbers 13 and 14 by ourselves. Okay, let's see how well you did. Do you need to simplify what's inside the parentheses? Nope. So here, we're going to go ahead and raise this entire base by a negative 3. Since it's a negative exponent, we're going to do repeated division. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1 divided by this entire term, which is a negative 6 cubed. Now, how many times are we going to divide it? We're going to divide it 3 times. So I'm going to add an additional parentheses and cube that. So what does this mean? Well, it means I'm going to go ahead and take this here. What's being cubed? This entire term here. So I'm going to go ahead and write negative 6 cubed a total of 3 times. So negative 6 cubed written 3 times. So now I'm left with a 1 in the numerator and a negative 6. How many do I have now? I have 3, 6, 9. So I'd write it as 1 over negative 6 to the 9th power. Okay, so now number 14. Here, to be completely honest, I would read this as 4 to the negative 10th raised to the 0 power. And I know anything raised to the 0 power is just 1. But if you want to go through the same steps as the other problems, you would first ask yourself, do I need to simplify what's inside the parentheses? The answer is yes. Since it's a negative exponent, I'm going to go ahead and do repeated division. So starting with 1, I'm going to divide by 4 to the 10th power. I still understand it's being raised to the 0 power, so I'm going to go ahead and take this entire expression and raise it to the 0 power. But again, anything to the 0 power is still just 1. So it's unnecessary, but it's not wrong to do it. Okay? Okay, so once again, let's go ahead and pause the video and try numbers 15 and 16 on your own. Okay, so let's see how well we did. Here, since there is a negative exponent, I'm going to go ahead and simplify that. Since the negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. I'm going to do 1 over a negative 4 divided 2 times. But notice here, it's still being raised to the negative 3rd power, so I'm going to keep that. Now here, since it's a negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. What am I going to divide with? I'm going to divide with this entire term. So starting with the number 1, I'm going to divide by this base. The base is 1 over a negative 4 squared. How many times will I divide it? Well, I'm going to divide it 3 times. Okay, so let me clean this up a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and now rewrite this. This is 1 divided by 1 over negative 4 squared raised to the 3rd power. And then I'm going to rewrite this as 1 times the reciprocal of this fraction. So now it's 1 times negative 4 squared over 1 raised to the 3rd power. So now all I have to do is, I understand that negative 4 squared over 1 is just negative 4 squared. So I'm going to go ahead and take my negative 4 squared. So again, this kind of, you don't need that. You're just going to go ahead and repeat that 3 times. So notice I put extra parentheses. Are these necessary? No, but it doesn't really hurt to have additional parentheses. It does make things more clean without them in this case, but it's not harmful at all. So here I'm going to say that I have a negative 4 left. How many? 2, 4, 6. I'm going to write negative 4 to the 6th power. Okay, so let's take a look at number 16 here. Can I simplify 2 cubed times 9? Nope, there's no point. So I'm just going to go ahead and raise it to the negative 3rd power. Since it's a negative exponent, I'm going to do repeated division. So I'm going to do 1 divided by a 2 cubed times 9. Now, how many times will I divide it? I will divide it 3 times. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take this here, what's being cubed, this entire expression. I'm going to go ahead and write that 3 times. So it's going to be 1 over 2 cubed times 9 repeated 3 times. I'm going to use a commutative property so I can pair all the 2's together and the 9's together. So that's going to leave me with 1 over 2 to the 9th times 9 to the 3rd power. Okay, so that actually concludes the lesson for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, until next time, bye!